Hey everybody, welcome to another Factional fight update from the car. As you can see, I'm driving home as I do every day, and I thought I'd just turn on the video and bounce off some ideas that are going around in my head. So this week we had another successful stream. Unfortunately, it had to be pushed to Sunday, so that was the Sunday that just passed, which, you know, isn't the most ideal day because we have work the next day, so we tend to go for a little bit less time, which we saw the episode a little bit shorter this week. But nonetheless, we got some stuff done. We gathered a whole bunch of materials to start the stables, and we got that done. You know, it feels like it's been forever that we've been terraforming this place, and there's been a lot of digging, and you know, I would have to take a lot of breaks from the digging in order to make more crates to store all the dirt that we're digging. Like, it's just insane. So it felt nice to put down a building. You know, when we were finished the episode, we kind of ran out of beams and we were short on grass, so I spent a bunch of time over a couple of nights digging up some more clay, cutting more beams and collecting more grass, because I'm feeling like the interior walls are going to be way more than the exterior walls, simply because I'm planning on making a little stable, for like a little room for each sort of horse, like a 2x1 room, and that's going to need, you know, walls on either side and potentially an archway in the front of each one of those. So that's going to be a lot. Not to mention, I'm debating, and I'm not sure if this is going to be the case, but whether or not I'm going to go one more story high to get like tall ceilings on the stables, or whether or not I'm going to put a second story on top of the stables, in which case I have to think about how I'm going to get up there. I'll need like a bridge or a I'll need something. I'll need to figure out something, which I haven't really thought of the design of that yet. Nonetheless, more materials are needed, and so I spent some time doing that. You know, we're gonna have to be doing that for almost every type of house that we have. So if we want to make a sandstone house, we're gonna have to find a sandstone vein and just, you know, cut a whole bunch of bricks and that sort of stuff. But you know, I feel like this is a lot more natural in terms of how Worms should be played. We've gone so long with so many projects where we've just bought all the materials, most of them anyway. We would make some here and there, but, you know, we would need 50,000 bricks. It's like, we're not cutting 50,000 bricks. We'll just buy those 50,000 bricks. So yeah, that's sort of like how we've been going up to this point for quite some time. But you know, it feels good getting back to the roots of how the game should be played. And you know, when you're making your own mats, you kind of have less grandiose ideas. You know, we don't want to make a massive castle that's going to take 80,000 bricks, let's say, because the prospect of making 80,000 bricks, it doesn't sound too, you know, fun to us. So nonetheless, that's where we're at. I have tons of ideas for what I want to do next, and a lot of it is, it's feeling like this time around we're focusing a lot on the naturey side of the game. So I'm putting some effort into the animals, animal husbandry, and also I'm really getting kind of interested in forestry for some reason. You know, I found myself noticing the new graphics that have been added to the game regarding when certain I guess trees are in season. So, you know, the oranges will show on the orange trees when you can pick them, and the maple trees show this little thing of sap. And I think just that little graphical indication that something's there to be harvested, just tickling the back of my brain in terms of, like, hey, go harvest that stuff. Like, it's right there to get. There's like a ton of resources to get. Why aren't you getting them? So, you know, the last time that the maple trees were showing sap, I just made myself a bucket and went around and grabbed as much as I could. And that seems like a fun time to me. And then it got me thinking, you know, maybe I should make a, what do you call it? Like the journal, the almanac. Make myself an almanac and spend some time filling in some almanac reports. You know, sounds like fun to me. Like I'm totally getting into it, and so I think I'm gonna start doing that. As well, I also want to work on my gardening because you know, it's a skill that I have worked on. I think I'm in the 40s or so on my gardening. And it's something that I think is going to go hand in hand with Brian's cooking. Like the way the cooking system is now, you can't really get away with just having hot food cooking anymore. You kind of need a lot of the side cooking abilities, and there's just so many of them, like cheese making and, you know, beverages and all sorts of other skills that you're going to need in order to be the best cook out there. So if I focus on the gardening and, you know, pot all the herbs and stuff and spend some time setting that up, then it's, you know, one sort of piece to the puzzle. And since my skill's already halfway there, I say it's like still pretty low, but it's like on its way, I figure I'll pick that up again and get a good gardening sort of setup going. I feel like I'm having fun with this sort of like idea, these lines of thought. So usually when that happens, it'll come into fruition. I just got to figure out how to set it up and what kind of buildings we want to facilitate these sorts of things. I am really interested in how Brian wants to do the beverage making, like the like making beers and making wines and that sort of stuff. I might even get into that. We're gonna need to make some hop trellises and things to get that whole set up. It just seems like there's countless things to do, and it's going to be a long-term sort of thing going on. I'm really feeling that I don't know how to describe it, but it's like I feel like we're at the beginning again, you know, and that there's so much opportunity, so many things to do, and every time we log on, there's like a purpose to what we're going to be doing in game next, you know, which I felt was lacking, especially after the labyrinth was done. Like when we finished the labyrinth, it was like we got back to our deed, and it was like, okay, well, maybe I'll skill up my weaponsmithing. Maybe I'll spend some time chopping some trees down, but it didn't feel like there was a reason to. It was just like, maybe I just kind of want to get my skills up a little bit more. But I couldn't figure out any reason why. You know, we had a whole setup for everything that we needed, and the deed felt done to the level that we were willing to put in. Like there was decoration, of course. There was like, you just put in more decoration, but again, it didn't feel functional, right? So it didn't feel like there was a purpose to move on to that next step of decorating, because the functionality wasn't there. The goals or they just wasn't. It was like aimless. We were completely aimless. So now with this new project, it really feels like we're focused in on what needs to get done. And every time we log in, it's like, okay, there's like now 10 things that I could do right now that will lead towards the goal of what we're trying to work towards, and just pick one of them and go. And with that purpose, this game is just phenomenal. You know, like this game shines when you have a goal, a purpose, and you're working towards something, especially if you're working towards something with somebody else. The other thing is every time I log in, there's now a local. There's like people in the local, because you know, we got let me see if I can list off who we got. We got Lionx, who's been helping us out on the show, you know, each week almost. We have Hackett made it out, and he's setting himself up. We have Neltharios and Warjack, who are brothers who set up across the road from us. We have Marlin now. Marlin has shown up in local recently. On the last episode, he was like hanging out, and he's been you know, pretty active in local. Silverwolf, who was a neighbor, who had lived there before for many, I think years, has been unreleased in that location, and we just happened to settle right next to Silverwolf. So she's there. Just like, it feels like a bustling. If I missed anybody, I apologize. Oh yeah, Blob is around. He's a resident of Release as well, and he's been helping us out, and he's in local here and there. It just feels like something's being built here, and it's just exciting. So I'm really happy things are working out, and yeah. So another thing is that we got a news update. What do we call it? A Valray International was released today. They get released every 2 weeks. You know, I find every time that one is ready to go, like on a Wednesday, I'll check the news, I'll check the forums on the morning. Throughout the day, I'm refreshing the forums, and I just can't wait to see that nugget of news that we're going to get. And this week was a small one, but nonetheless, it was great to see new pictures of how they're going to be fixing the rendering of the distant terrain. We're going to see little trees now for as far as the eye can see, which I think is a great change. Absolutely wonderful. I always had an issue with how just like the distant trees would just pop in and it looked completely bare, especially when you're on a boat. It really, really amplifies the issue when you're driving on a boat and you're decently far away from the shore and you're going towards the shore, and all of a sudden like the trees pop in, and all of a sudden the village pops in, and like everything's just popping, and it just doesn't look nice when that's happening. So the fact that we're going to be able to see these things from farther away, from much, much farther away, I think is going to change the game for the better. Now, Milena, who is also a streamer of Worm, Catspur you might know her as, she's been posting that she feels that the distant terrain stuff is great, but she argues that it kind of makes the distance not feel as vast. You know, like when you see a distant, very, very distant mountain, for example, and you see the trees on that mountain at the top, it almost diminishes, it feels like it diminishes the size of that mountain or how far that mountain looks, you know. If you're like, you know, looking at a true mountain range from a very far distant place, then chances are you're not going to be looking and seeing the individual trees really, like, and that just goes to give you that visual of how massive those mountains are, or how distant those mountains are, that you can see the green, but you can't even tell that they're trees. It's just so far away. Whereas in Worm now, like from the screenshots that we have, you can actually see the individual trees, even though the mountain range is like insanely far. So she argues that maybe just get rid of those trees at the top of the mountain, which is like an easy fix, I would only imagine. I mean, it may not be an easy fix, that's just me in my mind. Like, just get rid of the trees that are on the top of the mountain from the distant terrain. That's one way of dealing with it. I'm wondering if maybe there could be something done to give, you know, an even more distant trees a little bit less of a, what's the word, like an outline, I guess. Like, it's almost like you can actually look at a mountain that's like insanely far away and actually see a tree on it. Whereas like in real life, if you were looking at a mountain that was extremely far away and there was a single tree on it, it would more like just be a blur, like a blend of color. You know what I mean? Like, so what I'm proposing is that instead of like just getting rid of the trees at all, like just make another setting for that where it's like it almost looks like a fuzzy green on the mountain. You know, so you can't quite make out that they're trees, but it's like the color is there. It's not like it's just the gray rock or whatever, or just a plain matte green color. I don't know. Personally, I'd be fine if the trees stayed. I think that you know, it's a small point, but nonetheless, I can see the argument. But yeah, it's great to see some of the pictures that are being shown about this stuff. It's just phenomenal. I can't wait. Now I wonder if, in addition to the distant trees, are we also going to get see sort of a change in, you know how there's a distant model of the tree and then there's a close-up model of the tree? Like when you're close to the tree, it looks really nice, right? But then as you walk away from that tree, there comes a point where it switches to a lower level of detail, right? And that switch, there's a couple issues with that switch. The first issue is that switch happens as a pop. Like when I say pop, I mean it's like one kind of tree in one instant, and then it's the other kind of tree in another instant. And the models aren't close enough. Like they don't look quite exactly the same, right? Like they're slightly different. So you can, when the pop happens, you can see it's like the tree just completely changes to something completely different. And you can even see when you have like a bunch of trees in a row, and then the level of detail cuts off at somewhere in the middle, you look at the closer trees and you look at the farther trees, and they're like completely different looking trees. But then as you come closer, they pop in and they're now look the same. So that to me breaks immersion. Like my eye just focuses on that popping happening. So the second part to it is that, so there's the popping combined with the fact that the two models are completely different, and so much so that the colors are different. Now I'm not sure if the colors are different because of the lighting. You know, like some trees are in the shade, so they're light, like they're darkened because of the shadows, and then the level of detail that's distant, those models maybe don't get affected by shadows, so they end up looking brighter in color. So it's not only the pop, but it's also, it pops to something that is not only a completely different model, but a completely different color, and it becomes so jarring, you know, to see that happen. So what I propose is to work on getting the coloring between the two models closer, you know, and I'm not sure if it's possible, but maybe some way of determining the level of shadows that are currently on the trees and using that to darken the color of the tree to that same level. And then as well, instead of having it pop like one model then it's the next one, have a sort of fade. And I know they've been working on this fading because it works with the grass now. The grass kind of fades in rather than popping in now. So you sort of see the grass sort of materialize a little bit more smoothly. And you know what, since they added that, I haven't actually noticed it anymore. I don't notice the grass sort of coming into existence. And that's simply because there's no pop, there's no instant change. It's sort of a gradual change. And I think that if that was added to the trees, that would really make a difference. You know, have it gradually change to the distant model that looks close to the same as the close-up model, so the coloring's the same, you know, the size is the same. It doesn't have to be the same, obviously. It's definitely going to be a lower level of detail, but you know, it just needs to be the same size. It needs to be the same color. That's about it. And then have it sort of fade in as opposed to popping in. If that happened, that would just totally add to the level of immersion that this game has. It's just, yeah, that would be great to see. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. There was one more thing announced, and that was that Retro has been working on getting together an official dev stream. Now he's been doing some experimentation with streaming on his own and with Buddha. You can catch some of those VODs on his channel. I'm not sure actually if you can find his channel, and maybe I shouldn't be announcing his channel. Anyway, if you could probably find it, so I'll leave it up to you to find his channel. He has mentioned that this is a throwaway channel, so it's not his official channel. He's just like using it as an experimentation process of trying to figure out how to stream and getting comfortable in front of the camera. And I've watched a bunch of the VODs. I haven't watched them all, but I'm planning on getting around to that at some point. But from what I've seen, it seems just like it's happening, right? Like, it's great to see the devs and the Worm team working on getting together a stream, like an official Worm team stream, because I definitely tune into that. I just to hear that side of the story, to hear what's happening in the background, to, you know, yeah, very excited to see that. And I really wish Retro and Buddha the best of luck with this stream, and I really hope to see, you know, some great things come of it, because I really think that it will add a whole new level of interaction between the dev team and the public and the players, that will allow people to see the passion and the level of like commitment that these devs have to this game. Because, you know, for people like us who kind of monitor the the updates and monitor the development of the game over long periods of time, we know that the dev team has all this passion. But there's a lot of people on the forums who act, or at least say things that make me feel like they don't appreciate the level of attention that the devs have been giving this game. I feel like this is just another avenue for them to just make it clear what the path is, make it clear what, all the issues and all the decision making and what goes on. And yeah, I can't wait to see that. So yeah, I wish you guys the best of luck, and I look forward to seeing it. Okay, so a couple last things that I want to mention. Number one, I've been trying to mention our Twitter account, but I keep forgetting. So and I'm not the best with social media. I feel like I'm a complete noob with social media. So when it comes to Twitter, I almost forget that I have a Twitter. I forget that I'm to check it or to look through it. And every so often I will, and every so often I'll mention something. But I'm going to try my best to get better at it. I'm going to get better at posting stuff. I'm going to post this to YouTube, and then I'm going to post a Twitter that says that I posted to YouTube, that sort of thing. Same with when we're planning on doing another episode, I'm going to post, mention things there. That way, if you subscribe to our Twitter, or follow us on Twitter, then you will be able to get those updates and those announcements, and you'll hear, let's say, for example, I say on one of these things that I want to stream Friday. I'm just going to double check with Brian, but then later I double check and he can't do it Friday, which is what happened last weekend. He couldn't do it because he was feeling super ill on Friday after working a double shift. So I totally respect that. And so at that point, I sent out a Twitter saying we aren't going to be streaming on Friday, so instead we're going to be streaming on Sunday. So you'll get those announcements, and it'll give you a heads up. So our Twitter handle is @FactionalB. So just exactly like it sounds, factional as in factional fight, but it's FactionalB. And you can follow us to get all our updates. And I promise I'm going to try my best to get better at making sure those updates come regularly on Twitter. So speaking of which, I'm going to be, I'm pretty sure tonight I have a free night, and I just finished writing all my report cards and submitting all that in, and I just, all my marking is done, and I'm feeling like tonight is a night that I can finally have a night to myself and stream another game. And I've been saying I want to be doing this for I don't know how long, but things have just got so hectic and crazy, and so now I think is the time. I'm crossing my fingers that nothing will come up tonight, and that I can just get onto the computer, turn on the stream, and pick a game and go. So yeah, tonight is Thursday, by the way, and so this will be Thursday, April 11th, and so if you are catching this video here, or if you catch our Twitter, my Twitter announcement that I'll post a bit later, then hopefully you guys tune in and check it out and see what we're doing, or see what I'm doing, because I think I'm going to be on my own. I'm leaning towards a Factorial night. I've been thinking about Factorial lately. I did a huge stint in Factorial for a while, and then I just dropped it because I started getting back into Worm. But maybe Factorial. Another option is I'm as I've always have been, deeply into Overwatch. So it might be a little bit of mix of both. I'm not sure yet exactly how the night's going to go. We'll just play it by ear, and I really do want to show everybody Factorial, because this game, man, this game is beautiful. And I know a lot of people haven't tried it, because it does come with a pretty decently steep price for a game that claims it's still in early access for the 3 years. I think it's been in early access for 3 years. But I assure you, this game is 100% playable, even though it's in early access. There's no major bugs or anything like that. I haven't encountered a single bug, so there can't be many bugs. And on top of that, they're developing it it's almost weekly, or even more than every week you get an update on this game. So it's constantly being worked on. It kind of feels the same how Worm is, in the sense that, you know, Worm's out, but it's constantly being updated, constantly being worked on. It has the same kind of feel. So I think they just flag it as early access simply because the devs are still working on it, I guess. I don't know. I haven't looked too much into their plan on how the game's going to be developed, but it's definitely worth checking out. It's definitely a lot of fun, and I'm hoping that I can impart some knowledge to you, and maybe I'm also pretty new to this game. I haven't gotten that far in it. I haven't beaten it yet. So, you know, maybe I'll learn something new as well. Somebody can teach me something, because I know the basics. I know the how to start up and how to get the factories going and how to, like, you know, get the processing going. I just haven't gotten far enough to say that I'm, you know, any expert or anything like that at it. And it's been a while, like maybe a few months since I looked at it last, so I'm going to be fumbling through it a little bit, but I think that's going to be so much fun. I think it'll be fun. So hopefully you tune in and check it out. And so yeah, so follow us at Factional B on Twitter, and you know, or you can check out our YouTube. It's just Factional Fight. Just search for Factional Fight, and you'll see all of our videos, our latest videos I've been posting along with this one. So I guess you're watching it on this one if you are watching it. And of course our Twitch stream is Factional Fight as well. So until next time, you guys keep on worming, and hope to see you guys soon. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.